This episode is sponsored by Preston Grafton Insurance Agency, based here in the greater Pittsburgh area.
I've had the privilege of working with Ryan and Kelly over the last 5 or 6 years. I have over a dozen different policies with them, both personal as well as investment. And what I can say is that their focus point as it relates to their business and agencies is customer service. Hands down, the best customer service as it relates to an insurance agency. And not only that, you're going to get the best price.
I have a policy with them as well. Thanks for sponsoring Preston Grafton Insurance Agency. Welcome back to episode 20 of Cashed In. Today, I have a very busy guy with us. His name is Adebo. I call him Adebo.
Yeah, that's my name, Adebo Fafiyebi. Yeah.
From Nigeria.
Yep.
Came to America, self-made, made his
With
first million by...
$100 in my pocket when I came.
Right, and made your first million by 30.
Correct.
Yeah, so I'm so excited for you to join us. Thank you for coming. I can't wait to
Sure, it's my pleasure actually, yeah.
Yeah, so now he has 300 units, searching for 100, a little bit over 300, looking for 100 more.
We need to get to 500 units.
Yeah, which is where
That's
I
the
come
goal
into
for
play.
this year, yeah.
So, all right, well, thank you for
So
coming
it's
here.
your job to make that happen.
Yes, absolutely. I'm busy. So.
You want to be 40% growth is what I tell my managers, and that's what it is. And even though we want to be buying large units, I think sometimes when you could do increments of 24, 60, 36, like the one we're talking about on Mercer, it would be like a stepping stone to get into the 100 units. Because sometimes those 100 units are just few and far in between.
It's hard
People
to
don't
find.
sell.
Yeah,
People don't sell.
No, they hold on to them for a lifetime. How long have you
You know how many letters I get over for my 106 units in green? Every single day. Today we got 3 calls.
You're kidding.
Oh yeah, because it sits right in the middle of 3 golf courses.
Yeah.
And there's a country club next to us. So people constantly offer me money. They'll be like, yeah, money is important. What if we pay you 7 million or 8 million? They just throw the money out there.
Yeah.
But why would I sell when the property is doing so well?
Yeah, exactly. It's providing you an income.
Correct.
Tax benefit.
Correct.
All that.
And the fact that the debt is paying down faster because the mortgage is like 40 grand a month.
Oh, wow.
So when I took the mortgage out maybe 6 years ago, a new mortgage 6 years ago at maybe 5.1, 6 years, it's down to like 4.3. So you're paying faster. I mean, it's because it's big. The average income every month is like 120 grand. So you can't lose. So it doesn't, even when people offer me like such an incredible amount of money. One time, I think early this year, somebody offered like 10 million. And my manager said,
no?
take it, because that's like 5 million, you have it, $5 million. I said, no.
Is this for your portfolio or is this for specific property?
No, it's actually one of mine.
It's just one property?
Correct.
Wow.
It's huge. It's 106 units though. So it's
okay,
huge.
Where's this at?
It's in Green, Ohio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's right next to the Ohio Pressway Country Club. And then there's a Mayfair Country Club, Mayfair golf courses. So it's just really perfect. But I bought it 2006. I mean, you're talking years and years ago.
Okay.
So right before the crash.
Correct. Or actually in the middle of it. We were having all that mess.
Okay.
And I picked it up for maybe, I think at the time it was 5.5.
Wow.
And it's really
You're getting
done
offers
very
at
well.
10. And you're getting offers right now at 10
Oh
million.
yeah, I'm getting anything
Almost
around
double.
that
Yeah.
number. Yeah, almost double. That's the beauty of real estate, because you can just do so much in such a short period of time. And I talk to young people. That's what they should be doing. When you're in your 20s and you still have a lot of energy, you should be doing it. Even the 12 units that I just bought in Youngstown on Route 304, right off of Belmont, we were doing the number today that if we were to sell it at 6 cap, that property, I paid $249 for it. back then it was, I think, just 2 years ago. I just bought it.
Yeah.
2000. Yeah, 2000. Right around the COVID period, and half of it were vacant at the time. But I know it's because the person didn't know what they were doing.
Right.
She lives in Florida, and she's trying to run it over here, and she just didn't know what she's doing. And she would actually badmouth her own property. We were talking to her, and she'll be like, "That thing is a dump." Every time I put new windows in, they break it. So anyway, I picked it up for $249. We were doing 6 cap today, and that property will easily sell for $550, $600 within 2 years.
Within 2 years.
So you can't go wrong when it comes to real estate, is what I tell people.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you just can't.
It's my favorite game.
Oh yeah.
So
you can't.
I'm really interested to hear your story. You came here when you were 21.
Correct.
And I can only imagine, because I've never been through an experience like this, leaving your country and knowing nobody.
I didn't know. I know a few Nigerian students that have been here before. They were like a little older than maybe a year or two. So we will communicate. One thing you have to remember is this is the biggest, most opportunistic country in the world. I mean, bar none.
Yeah.
Because I have families in London, and I still go to London all the time. I'm actually leaving next July 26th, and I'll be there for 15 days, and I'll never leave there. Because when you compare the opportunity that we have here compared to some other countries, we're just head and shoulder above every other country. So everywhere you go around the world, I don't care if it's a little tiny little village that I came from, everybody knows about the US.
Yeah.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
Then you also have the goodwill that we do. Some Americans are they're born to do that.
Oh.
And they just go around. If I told you the story of this lady, William, we call her Nun William. She was a nun.
Okay.
And she'll come to that village like 3 times a year. And she'll participate in building wells and schools. Because back then, you can't go to school in my village unless your hand can reach your ear. That's how they measure. It's not your age. So if you have to be short, you can't do this.
Wait, you have to be able to do this to go to school? Okay.
You can't go to school.
Why is that a unit of measurement to go to school?
Because they don't have enough. Oh. So this is the way to control.
Okay.
Just like how you know, the same thing with women.
Okay.
They don't want women going to school. It's not because they really don't like women. It's more because we have limited resource. So it's better for women to just stay home.
Oh, I see.
So the same thing. They'll say, if you're 5, 6, 7, and your parents want you to go to school, you have to be able to do that. Otherwise, you just go with your parents to the farm and learn to be a hunter, or you learn to be a farmer. And in the village, that's all they do.
Okay.
They go hunt. They start out like 5 in the morning. They gather in the village, and they just share whatever they have. There's no money per se.
Yeah.
So it's a barter type system.
Right.
And then one of the reasons I fell in love with real estate the minute I got here was my father took almost 15 years to build that little mud house. We'll just do one room this year, and then the next 2, 3 years we're gathering all this mud.
So you lived in a mud house? You lived in a mud house?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's got like a little thatch roof. The weather is always good. We don't have winter. Even till today, most Sahara Africa, there's no winter.
Yeah.
And you only have one brutal month that you'll have the windstorm and the harsh heat. The rest of the year, it could be 110, but it's not harsh. It's just, so there's not a lot of rain either. That's why the food shortage is happening over there. That's where all the malnourishment is happening.
I see.
So this lady, Nun Williams, will come all the way from Minnesota, and she'll bring all these little things that we've never seen. Radios, back then. I mean, this was 1985. So little radios, transistor radios, little TV that you never seen before. I mean,
wow.
Even the camera, she had this huge camera, and we thought it was TV. It was a camera. She opened it up. You see, that village, there's only 2 transportation systems per day. You have one that comes in the morning to grab all the food and the animals they killed from yesterday, bring it to the city, and then one at night to bring stuff from the city in.
Okay.
Because they're starting to kind of understand civilization a little bit. So some of these hunters and farmers, my mother was a farmer, so some of the things that they see on TV, especially Western stuff, Because all of those things back then, even till today, most of the African countries depend so much on the U.S. and the Western nations for all the things that you and I take for granted here, like watches and fake hair, you know,
absolutely.
nail polish. So these things are coming into the village little by little at the time. It was trickling in. So the bus will come twice for that purpose. One, to take the natural food to the city, and at night to bring in some city stuff. So this nun will come in and she built this school. So at age 7, I think, I was able to go to school.
Okay.
And the nun kind of took to me and a few of my friends, not just to me, but a few of my friends. She just thought we were going to learn English quicker, because most of the village kids, they're not learning any English. They just go with their parents to the farm. And some parents don't even want their kids near the white lady, they call her.
Oh, okay.
The white lady with the cat eye, because my grandmother used to say, "What's with her eyes?" And my grandmother would be like, why do you like her so much? I'm afraid she's gonna kidnap you.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, no. And there's only like 30 of us in a class, and believe it or not, it's a one-room class, like this room.
Yeah.
But it's all different. So she'll bring people with her, or the nuns. And that's all we do, 3 months worth of class, and that's it.
Yeah.
So we'll be waiting to see her the following year.
Yeah.
So by the time I was like 15, 16, I really wanted to come to the States. And because we were her African kids, she'll call us.
Yeah.
So she'll bring us to the American Embassy every so often.
Oh.
So we would just be so in love with watch Bonanza. This, you remember Bonanza?
I've heard of it. It's a 60s
60s,
show?
it's like,
Okay.
it's like this cowboys shooting and
right.
doing all this violent stuff, and you're just so excited.
I think it was on Nick at Night when I was little.
See,
Okay.
you would know.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still on. If you YouTube it, you'll see it.
So you're inspired by Bonanza.
Oh,
You're like,
was
I
so
gotta see
excited.
America.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then they would do, like, when the American Embassy showcase certain new things coming, like, you know, like airplanes. They show how, you know, Wright brothers and things like. So they bring you to the American Embassy, and you're watching all these things, and you're just so amazed.
You're probably in awe. I mean,
Oh, yeah, I was
You come from a
15.
mud hut, and now you're seeing Bonanza.
Correct.
What
Yeah.
year was this? What year
This
was
was like in the late 70s, early 80s.
Okay.
See, I'm almost 60, so.
You're almost 60.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
I had no idea how old you were.
Oh,
I
yeah.
had no idea.
So I was only 15, and I was blown away. This was near 80. I think it was like 78, 79. So she would drive us back, and I would lay in my mud house. We don't have beds. It's more like a mat.
Okay.
So my brother has his own mat. So you roll it and you lay on it. And I wouldn't sleep all night. I'll just be daydreaming about America. Exactly.
Oh, wow. That is so,
It's amazing. We take it for granted.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, back then, which is no more now, there was another show where I forgot the name of it, but we will watch it when we go to the American Embassy, where the woman can't do anything. She would have to.
Was it Bewitched when she would wiggle her nose?
No.
Who's the woman that does everything?
Really?
Marvel? I don't know.
I know something. But what happened was, I remember we'll be driving back to the village, and I'll be questioning Miss Williams. I'll be like, how come she needs a husband to open a bank account? Back then, you can't.
You know, a single woman
in the 70s, you can't.
couldn't get a mortgage by herself until 1974.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we will watch it, and I'll be like, how come? Then she'll say, yeah, but look at all that, all the things that the man does for her. They have this white picket fence home, all this beautiful stuff, you know, nice kept street, and I'm just like, wow.
1960s America.
I just want to come. So lucky enough, I was like 18, 19, and she had like almost 15 of us that she's brought up under her wing. And she brought us to the American Embassy to meet the new ambassador at the time. And the ambassador couldn't believe that we only had one school in the village of 500 people, and we spoke English. He just couldn't believe it, because he thought in the village everybody just hanging and going, oh, like Tarzan. And that's this ambassador couldn't believe it. That you guys, wow. And she would tell the story how she just started us like 4 or
Yeah.
5 years prior.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we only do 3 months. So when you add it up, it's not like we've gone to school that long. I mean,
Right.
3 months every year. Even at age 15, you've only gone to school like 2 years.
Yeah.
But we spoke English and
Yeah.
we write it well. And so she made a name for herself. So she goes around doing those things. So right about that time, I think it was Ronald Reagan that was in office. So they have this program that they were just going to help. And I just happened to be one of those poor kids that get help to come here. So right about age 18, 19, the program fell on my lap and I came to the USA. I first came to Tennessee.
Oh.
And she'll come there to visit. There were 5 of us that went to Tennessee. And I just could not understand anything those people are saying. I couldn't. The English is so, like these people
Yeah.
are not speaking English. So she saw that I was kind of miserable because I know a few Nigerians that were there,
Yeah.
but I couldn't understand
Right.
the teachers, even the local people. Have you ever been to Tennessee?
Yeah, once.
Oh, okay. Am I correct or no?
Yeah,
Do you-
I would just,
I
I
mean-
guess, so it was just Tennessee or was it just
We're
being in the
Knoxville,
States? in
Knoxville,
general?
Tennessee.
Okay, yeah.
It was just so confusing to me. So I told Mrs. Williams, and she said, you know what I could do? There's more population of Rhode Island in Atlanta, Texas. Rhode Island was mentioned. And then because you also know that one thing that people don't realize is when you come to this country for the first time, I don't care where you're coming from, even people from Europe. It's just so huge. America is just so huge. Everything is just so, even the cars are so big.
Yeah.
So she said, Rhode Island is so tiny. It's a small state. You wouldn't be so overwhelmed. The roads are tiny, just like it's Nigeria. So, and she was right. So they transferred me to a university called Johnson & Wales University. And it's like perfect for me because everything is so tiny. I don't even think all of Rhode Island is bigger than Ohio.
Right.
So Providence, which is the capital city, you don't need a car. You could it's so small.
get around.
You could get around.
Yeah.
I mean, all I needed was my little bike.
Yeah.
I ride a little bicycle. And I could go from Frederick Hill to Newport Plaza. And if you travel more than 30 minutes, you already left Rhode Island anyway. That's how small. In a car.
I've
If
never
you
been
dri-
to Rhode
Oh
Island.
yeah, either direction in 30 minutes, you're already in Massachusetts or Connecticut. So anyway, so I really just fell in love with it and I finished my degree in 3 years. I mean, so fast. I just really love it.
What'd you study?
I studied hotel, restaurant, and institutional management, which is
Okay.
similar to real estate, believe it or
Yeah,
not.
Right.
yeah.
that's what I
Because
was
the
thinking.
institutional management part of the hotel management teaches you how to enhance the hotel property. Because the thinking is, it's not just having a hotel and charging X amount of dollars every night. The value you bring to that hotel and the facelift and the improvement is what could bring it to like a 4-star or 5-star. So the institutional management part of it kind of teaches you how to do all this enhancement. So when I came out, the biggest company in town was CVS Pharmacy.
Okay.
So all the hotels that are there, there's not that many. They were pretty much 5-star. So they were the one encouraging Johnson & Wales University to teach us that type of enhancement, type of mentality where you do this kind of face redevelopment, redesign, and enhance the value. You did something to the lobby and you redo decoration. Back then, we didn't call it staging. We just call it redevelopment and redesigning.
Okay.
But that's what it is. You restage and the hotel value will go up
Yeah.
from that type of thinking. So what happened is I finished college, and those hotels, unbeknownst to me, I thought they were just Rhode Island Hotel, but they were everywhere. There's Biltmore, which is at
Okay,
the downtown
yeah.
hotel. There's Westin.
Weston, yeah.
So all the hotels that are in Rhode Island at the time, they were just all 5-star. So they wanted to transfer me to Florida. But lo and behold, we had what they call Pell Grant at the time. I don't know if
I've heard that.
this-
Yeah, I've heard, yeah.
For education.
It's still-
for
yeah.
education,
Yeah.
correct. But they would not, if you're very smart about it and you only use some of it, they'll give you the refund at the
didn't
end of
know that.
each year. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So as I was going through my second year in college, I already met this older lady that her son also goes to school there. happens to be a friend of mine. So the mom will always tell me that you're kind of sharp. You know, you love all these things about redesigning and why don't you come to my Sunday open house? Because she was an agent and her husband owns a lot of property. But at the time, I didn't even know what real estate is all about. So she says, your friend will never come because he doesn't like anything to do with real estate at all, even though her mother is a real estate agent. So I just fell in love with that lady. Every Sunday we'll go do an open house. We do all these little staging. So I'm learning a lot from her every Sunday. So as I was being offered the job by Biltmore, she was showing me a duplex for 50 grand.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? Because back in Nigeria, you don't sell because you sweat and blood you put on this property.
Sure.
It's a curse for you to sell your parents' house. You just don't do it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
You can't
so,
do that. Okay.
and I kept asking her, why would anybody sell? She said, just don't ask, you know.
Just don't ask.
Yeah, don't ask because it's not the same thing like your country.
Yeah.
Because I've lived in Dom all this time.
Yeah.
But I was about to finish college. So she said, let me just break it down to you. It's not the best area, but each side rents for, I think at the time, $500. So instead of coming out of college and looking to rent, you could live on one side and the rent you're collecting from here, you pay mortgage. I didn't know what a mortgage is. So she also broke it all down. And lo and behold, just about the same time, because I've also talked to CVS at the time. So CVS also offered me a job. And CVS is headquartered there. And I was so lucky, right about, I think it was 83, I was just coming out of college. And CVS was just starting to blow up. So that also helped. So I have like maybe $3,000 left in my Pell Grant. And at the time you have a lot of zero down as your first time buyer.
Oh, okay.
Do they still do that today?
It has to be in a rural area like USDA loans.
Oh, okay.
Or VA is 0% down.
Okay.
Or you'll get a mortgage in like a state grant.
Right then it's so
Yeah.
rampant. You
Yeah.
just need to come with your closing fees and they'll break it down. So this lady, Stephanie, her name is Stephanie, she showed me the breakdown. Anyway, by the time we closed the deal, it was within 30 days. Not only do I have money back because the Pell Grant that I have for credit was like over $3,000, and all I needed to close was like maybe $2,000. So I have $1,000 back. Plus, my mortgage was only going to be $300.
Yeah.
So I'm living. So I moved out of campus, graduated, got a job, and at the time, because CVS was starting to blow up, they didn't know what to do with me because I have a hotel degree. So they actually asked me what I wanted to do. So they put me in their realty division, which was just God designed.
what?
Everything is just falling in place because I didn't even know what I could do for them either.
Yeah.
They interviewed me and they said, you know, Rhode Island, I was actually a minority quota for them, now that I know.
Okay.
But back then, I didn't know because they just said, we don't even know. We'll find something for you.
Yeah.
The person that came to the recruiting said, we'll just find something. Just accept it. So I signed because they're going to pay me I think at the time, $38,000. Now that's a lot of money.
Wow.
For a 20, I was only 22 or 23 at the time. That's a lot of money.
Yeah,
Plus, I'm not
1983.
going to have any expense.
Exactly.
So everything just like, so I looked to Stephanie. I said, why isn't everybody doing this?
Yeah.
She goes, well, Americans don't think like that. Just don't bother with all this questions. So I did it. Everything just went so perfect. So I joined CVS. Now they're teaching me the other side, the commercial side. So we'll go out. CVS was buying Refcos. They're buying all these other pharmacies.
Yeah.
Because the person that owned CVS at the time, it wasn't public. It was a private person. He's a Jewish guy from the waterfront area of Rhode Island. So he would come in his jeans. You wouldn't even know he's the owner. I mean, the guy's just filthy rich. But he'll come into the meeting and he'll tell us what he wants. He wants to buy 200, just like I told you, I want to buy 200 more units. He says, we need to find 100 more properties. So they'll look to us. They'll say, you're the realty people. Make it happen.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
So I started taking classes just like you. I have my real estate license. I did everything. Within a year, I got promoted, making like 50 grand. But still, I have no expense.
Yeah.
So I was just living large right off
Yeah.
the bat. So I'm like, this is just unreal. How could this be happening? So Stephanie then called me again a year later. She said, I have a few more duplexes. So I have all this money saved up. So
Yeah.
I have no problem buying them. So little by little, within 5 years, I joined CVS maybe, I think 83, 84. By 1989, I already have like maybe 14 or 15 duplexes. Because I just keep buying them, but I was buying them 50, 60, 70,000. I think the most I ever paid was like 75 grand. So I moved out of the one that so I bought me a really nice home. So I'm living the American life, like within not even 5-6 year period.
Wow.
Then the same lady called me. I was traveling. We were buying a company called Refco out of Atlanta. CVS was going to buy, like, I think there's 1,000 of them. And CVS is going to now go big and go public. And I was starting to get tired of all the traveling because all I do is travel every day of the week. So Stephanie called me out of the blue and said, somebody just offered me $250,000 for your first duplex. I thought she was kidding. I said, what are you talking about? She said, oh, yeah. She said, this guy is coming from Boston. Would you be in town this Saturday? I said, you better believe it, I'm going to be in town. So I flew back into town. We went to show this guy. And then he said, do you have more? Anyway, to make a long story short, I sold 5 of them. And at age maybe 26, 27, 28 at the time, I had $1 million sitting in my bank account.
Wow, you sold them all for around the same price.
250.
You paid about 50, and you made about 200,000 on each.
250 for each of them.
250. Wow.
Times 5, and I still have 10 left. Yeah. So I just know that there's no stopping. I mean, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Oh, yeah.
So I had so much money that I then became stupid. So then I have to chase all the girls.
Yep.
I have a really nice home in, what's the name of it? It's like a waterfront outside of Houston, Galveston.
Okay.
It's
Galveston,
beautiful.
Yeah.
I have this huge home. It overlooks the water. I'm always there every weekend just partying away.
Okay.
Well, you're 27, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I have all these friends that are not really true friends. I find that out later. I started neglecting the 10 units because I just have so much money sitting there. And I didn't even know this, that once you have a certain amount of money in your bank account, the banks start to treat you different. I have like $1.1 million at the time, and the banks they have all these catalogs that are just geared to millionaires. And they start treating you different, that you then become stupid. I mean, they drove one of their, what they call partner businesses, was the biggest Mercedes dealer in town. They drove the Mercedes to me and said, just drive it for 2 weeks, just for fun. Before you know, I just signed papers and I own a $200,000 Mercedes without even thinking about it. Oh. So those are the things that I did until I was like 31, 32. Then I have to kind of rewind after I realized I lost so much money to stupidity. So I rewind, and then
what happened? What was like the moment you're like, oh, I need to slow down. Like, I'm being ridiculous. Like, where was that moment?
What happened was I started doing things that it's not in my nature to do.
Okay.
Like, getting drunk, trying drugs that I shouldn't even be involved in.
Yeah.
Taking advantage of the system.
Okay.
Because once you have a lot of money, the system lends itself to you to take advantage of.
Okay.
Sure. Like I remember one time, a couple of my friends, they beat up this girl in my big waterfront property.
Oh my God.
And the cops came, and they give us like a way out. They pretty much told us her back history that we didn't even know. So okay. I used that influence, and they know me because once you're living in that waterfront property, you're driving a huge Mercedes, you have all these fake friends with their big cars. The cops they're for sale, pretty much. Wow. So I started taking advantage of that, and I started misbehaving myself.
Yeah.
I'll be doing 200 miles an hour, and it's not 200, but like 100 miles an hour.
Right.
And I know some of the officers by name.
Yeah.
But after a while, then I also have a friend that get killed,
oh my God.
Driving recklessly on a motorcycle. Yeah. So those things, the accumulation of them, then you also start becoming lazy because I didn't have CVS. With CVS, you have a job, you have a boss, so you have to wake up 8 in the morning and get to work.
And you weren't working at this point?
No, I already quit. With $1 million in your bank account, you don't need
that's
to work.
That's right. In today's dollars, that's even
interest alone. I mean, the time I think my interest alone was almost like $4,000, $5,000 a month.
Wow.
So I could have lived so well, but I blew almost half of it before I wake up. So I think what the friend that died actually helped because that kind of
It was your
sobered me up.
message. Yeah.
Exactly. But just waking up in the morning doing nothing is also not good for you.
Right.
Because I could see all of a sudden the drive that I used to have just started melting away. The 10 remaining properties, they were now being badly managed because I was never in town.
Yeah.
I'm busy partying away.
Yeah.
Then what else? Then I also started buying properties all over. So I kind of like spread myself so thin. I have properties in Texas, Missouri, Kansas City, here, because I bought Jefferson Arms in 2003. Then where else? And I still have some in Ohio. So I was flying constantly. So all of this distraction was going on. So one day I was just sitting there, and there was a girl that I was dating at the time, and I started realizing I'm going to lose her if I don't start changing stuff. So, so that's what did it.
Okay.
But that's my story, yeah.
So, okay, wait. That's not your whole story. 'Cause that brings you to what? How, like, with how many years ago? Okay, you turned your life around, and then you started getting into like the bigger multi-unit game.
Correct. What happened was right once I started realizing that this is a big mistake, I need to kind of gather myself. This was right about 2006, 2007. Things were starting to bottom out. So the same property that I could have sold for 250, now you can only get 150 if you're lucky. But I'm still ahead. So I sold a few more. But what really did it for me right about 2006, 2007 was the Glen Eagles apartments. Because I flew into Ohio. That was my first presence in Ohio. And they showed me that property, and I knew right away. Because I already have the Jefferson Arms.
Yeah.
And I also have the Normandy apartment in Youngstown, the one that you're trying to get back for me now.
Yeah.
And so I already know what I could do if I sit my ass down and run it properly. So the minute I bought Glen Eagles, I said, no more partying, no more running around. I don't need 3-4 houses because that's what I had at the time. I have houses everywhere.
Yeah.
So that I just go into staying and have fun. I don't need, so I sold 3 of them, so I only have 1 left. So I then put that money back into Glen Eagles because Glen Eagles was my biggest one at $5 million. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I needed, at the time, because the market was starting to bottom out, banks are not the way they were.
Yeah.
So you have to come up, I think I had to come up with like 30%.
Okay.
So which is a lot of money. So
Yeah.
I had to do like a lot of creative things. I sold some more properties. I was lucky that the initial purchase price was so low. Because I started seeing friends in Rhode Island that paid $150, $180 for similar type property with the hope of turning around and selling for $250. But by 2006, when the meltdown, they were bottom up. They couldn't make money. But I was lucky enough that I was able to put all the money together. I think I came up with like $800,000 to buy that property. So I bought it. Then right after I bought it is when I bought Normandy. Then I also bought another big one in Kansas City. So then I bought another one in a place called Hiawatha out of Missouri. So then I was running them. They were starting to do well. Money was starting to roll in. But still, the amount of travel was really eating up on me.
Yeah.
So, but the market was so tough now. And so I learned the mistake that you can't buy when it's high. It's better to buy when things are low.
Absolutely.
So the ones that I have that I'm struggling with, which was Normandy at the time I was struggling with because I paid too much because it was when everything is on the high end of it. So I sold those and I just concentrate on, at the time I only have 200 units now after I sold those bad ones out. And then I just sit on those and then I've increased them since then. And that brings us to where we are today.
Okay.
But then I learned that big always does well because you have
One roof. You were telling me this.
Correct. You have everything under one roof, and you have what they call the economy of scale.
Right.
You just have so much, and the income that comes in is so huge.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How did you find all the deals in multiple states? Did you have? Was there? I don't
Jeff.
think
Jeff knows a lot of people. Jeff
Staff.
Oh.
Yeah, he
He
passed
knows
away.
a lot
He
of
passed
people.
away.
Yeah, he knows a lot of people in Ohio. He knows a
So
lot of people.
when did you meet him?
2002.
2002.
He was
Did you
so
already buy
young
Jefferson
back then.
Arms at the time?
He was the one that sold me Jefferson Arms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he
Yeah.
put me in touch with a lot of people in Missouri, Kansas
Okay, so
City.
that-
He's the
even
one that taught
Texas.
me real estate.
Yeah, okay.
I got into real estate because of Jeff's staff.
He knows a lot of. Yeah, he was very smart. Yeah, very.
So you were in
Brilliant, yeah.
Texas, and then you bought Jefferson Arms. Or when did you leave Texas? You were in Galveston when you were partying and all that.
Correct. I haven't even owned any property like per se in Texas. It was just a fun place just to go
Just
hang
where
out
you
at
went,
the
okay.
Galveston. Later on, I did buy an apartment building in Houston, in Katy.
Okay.
Katy, Texas, which is outside of Houston. But when I met Jeff, that's all I had. That fun party. At the time, all those places, Texas, Rhode Island, I was just having fun. Those were just, I didn't even own anything big. But what started the big was Jeff's staff. I
Right.
bought that 40 units in Newcastle, and that just like, wow, look at all this money coming in. Because you're talking, Jefferson Arms does about 28, 30,000 a month. So
Did you force appreciation on that when you bought it? Like, did you rehab, do work to it, or?
what happened was the person that Jeff knew that was selling it. That gentleman was dying of some medical issue. He was going, so he had no choice because the wife was also somebody that couldn't run the property.
couldn't
They
take care
couldn't
of it.
take care of it.
Yeah.
And they were self-managing. I forgot the name of them. They were very popular in town.
I can look it up. I'll check it out.
So they said, listen, we went into it for 1.3. Just give us 1.3. So that's how that happened. We did the appraisal. Even at the time, it was 1.5. So it really made sense
Oh, yeah.
to buy. And because there's also a lot of government money coming in because it's Newcastle. There's
Right.
a lot of government
Section
money
8?
trying.
You did Section 8 there? or
It
no?
was more, I wouldn't call it Section 8 per se. It was more, because Section 8 has all these different programs.
Right.
It was more like elderly housing type
Okay.
included with Section 8. It was a match. It was a mixture of both. And then they also do a lot of grants.
Okay.
So they give us new grants to do new windows, grants to do
okay.
all the
Who gives
heating.
it? Who'd you get those through? Were those through the state? Or
Through the
federal?
state, PHFA,
okay.
the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency, does all of that. But you have to they commit you to not selling it for 10 years.
Okay, so
for
you're tied
5
into
years.
it.
So you're
No,
tied into that. But they do everything new. So everything you see at that property, the new roof, they put in new roof like 2010. They put in all the heating system like 2012. So within 5 years that I own it, they
You didn't have
just
to put the money in yourself. So
correct.
the state put the money
And
in.
it's free if you don't sell it. If you sell it within that 10 years, then you have to pay them back.
But I'm sure the property
Okay.
has to meet guidelines with who resides in the.
Correct. It has
Yeah.
to meet, but they're paying you the money. So what do you?
Yeah.
So they're
Right,
literally
yeah.
the state. That's fascinating.
Correct.
I mean, I've known about different grants, but the fact of the matter is that for a property like that, you have the state that's literally forcing appreciation on your behalf
Correct.
for an asset that you own.
Correct.
So you put a new roof, new heating
Correct.
system, all windows. I mean,
Correct.
those are
Oh yeah,
high
that's
ticket
a
items
big. Oh yeah,
for 40 units.
This span, I still remember when we paid it off last year, because they have to release
Mm-hmm.
the fact that we don't own this grant anymore. We didn't sell it
Right.
while we get the $690,000 they spent within
That's what they
10
spent
year
on that
period.
property.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So what's the property worth now?
2 million, almost
million.
2 million. The
It's
last
paid off, you
appraisal-
said?
Oh yeah, I paid it off last year. Yeah, so I'm debating if I should refinance, but
That's what my next question. So do you borrow? Do you leverage? How do you view leverage then? As it relates to your
leverage should only be done if you have something else that would make sense.
Right.
Otherwise,
It's gonna yield you
leveraging
a
it.
net positive return.
Correct. So that's where I'm at now. It's zero debt, and we collect close to 30 grand every month. So it's easy cash coming in. So why leverage it if I don't have something that I'm going to use that would generate almost equal amount of profit back?
Right.
So
Right.
yeah.
So, or do you have your portfolio though? Your 300 plus units. How much do you have debt on other properties?
Correct. Glen Eagle still have $4.5 million debt, but that's the one they
the one
offer
that
me
you had
$10
$10
million
million.
that I'm turning down. So then I have so many little pieces of portfolio that has no debt. I have almost 33 houses in Akron that are just zero debt.
Student
So-
housing.
No, they're just houses.
houses?
They're just 3-bedroom houses. See, right around 2010, Jefferson Arms was starting to pay down. So I was starting to run into all these extra 20, 30,000 every month. And people were calling me. They'll say to me, well, we still have some houses in Akron, like bank foreclosures pretty much. They'll say,
Huge
do you want
foreclosure boom.
Correct.
That's when I started real estate.
Do you want to buy this
Yep,
5?
all I did was foreclosures.
I bought 10 houses. I mean, they need a little work, cosmetics.
Sure.
Some of them need new garages. All of these houses have garages. And two-car garages, nice homes. I mean, the area is like maybe Class C, not Class A area.
Right.
But now we're getting $900, $950 for each house. So I just pay $100,000 for 10. So they're like $10,000 per house.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was like, you said that was around 2010, 2011.
Correct.
Do you know what you were getting in rent back then?
Back then we started off like $650, $700, but now we're getting $950.
Yeah, I know. I've been hearing Akron quite a bit. You know, there's a lot of investors that are buying property in Akron. I don't know if it's
I mean,
'cause
one
school
of them
or-
I was showing to the tenant yesterday, because one of my give back is to try to help tenants that don't understand, they don't have a clue. This lady's been paying me. So I sent her brother the pictures because the brother was trying to help her. She's been paying us almost $1,000 for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Every month.
Right.
And the property is probably valued at about 80, 90 today.
Okay.
But believe it or not, the boyfriend calls me and says, yeah, but you only pay 10 grand for it. What's that got to do with anything that we're trying to help
Yeah, what?
get into it? And we're going to give her some of her deposit, because I usually, when they don't have credit, we usually get 2-3 months deposit from them. So we were going to use part of that as a payback, as a community thing, because I have a community group that I work with Akron Housing Metropolitan. So I've sold some of them to like 5 of the good tenants, because they're good paying
Okay,
tenants.
so you sold the houses to
Correct.
Okay.
But this lady, I was just going to show you the picture. So the boyfriend called me and said, yeah, but you only pay 10 grand, but you want 80. I said, yeah, but that's what it's worth. I know.
You can't have that
And
mentality.
he said to me,
Was he younger? Were they younger? Or they
no, they're actually in their 40s.
Okay.
The problem is some people don't,
Understand.
Americans especially, they really don't understand everything we're discussing now, like real estate and see, this is the house. I mean, look at the garage.
Oh,
It's
is that a
only
concrete
10 years
driveway?
old.
Super
Oh yeah,
nice.
that's the driveway. The front of the property itself. Let's see. The front of the property itself. Let's see if we can see. Oh, that's only one picture of one picture. Let's see if we can see 10 pictures.
You have to send me the address. We can put it up on the screen so you can see what we're talking about.
Yeah. So I send this to, I don't know. Okay, see? So the property is really, really beautiful. This is
Wait,
the way
you
it
can
looks
buy
like.
that for $80,000?
Oh yeah, in Akron you still can.
Wow.
But
Wow, that's a nice house.
That's a really nice
yeah,
house
but
for
like
80
10
grand.
years ago I only paid 10 grand.
Yeah.
And it still looks the way it looks now. I mean, it hasn't changed. But, so I was telling the brother, I said, another 5-10 years, if Akron keep growing like it's growing, because not too far from there, Cleveland Clinic just built.
Yeah.
I
they
said,
did, okay.
Oh
So
yeah,
that must
so
be
all
why
of
The
that-
that.
draw.
gravitated
It's
to-
cheaper to live there, but you're still close to the
What's the other
Cleveland
good
area.
business? Is Goodyear there? What's the other business that's...
Goodyear used to be.
It
Goodyear
used
is
to be,
really
okay.
slowed down, and Firestone used to be also, because my
Okay.
car dealership is right on.
That's right.
Near the Firestone Park. But she's probably going to just piss it away, and she's probably not going to buy it because she talks herself out of it. And you'd be surprised how many of my tenants do that, even though they know of the program. We'll send them to MHA, Acromat, because they want to give them the money.
Yeah.
Because there's still money to as a first-time buyer. But that's the problem that I see with Americans
Yeah.
that don't understand. They're squawking about the fact that I pay $10,000.
Well, you know,
I said,
our academic institutions at the high school level, for example, they do a terrible job, you know, teaching kids about just basic finance, basic
True.
budget, credit, these
True.
sorts of things. So
Taxes.
by the time they get out, taxes, by the time they get out, you know, into their 20s and 30s, they just don't know.
Correct.
They don't know what you don't know, you know,
Correct.
and that's why some
True.
states are starting to evolve and adding that to the curriculum. Because
Correct.
otherwise, if you don't learn it when you're younger, a lot of people start working full time.
Correct.
They stop learning.
Correct.
You know, where people like yourself, You know, and I think all three of us, you know, you're constantly learning. You have to be learning.
You have to be.
You have to. Yeah, you definitely
learning
have to.
things that are beneficial to know,
Correct.
to function in our society. You should know about real estate. That should be the super basic thing to know. But to so many people, it's such a foreign concept.
Yeah.
Correct.
Like your tenant, for example.
Correct.
She could get a 0%, put zero money down, right?
Correct.
You're giving her the deposits.
Correct.
There's
To help her out.
PFHA. I don't know what the Ohio
AMHA.
has. Okay,
African
AMHA.
Metropolitan Housing. Correct.
We'll give her, you know, the down payment.
They do what they call like how to be, to kind of help with their credit, because most of them don't have good credit.
They're promoting home ownership.
Correct.
So she has this opportunity.
Oh yeah, we send them. Oh yeah.
Her mortgage payment will be cheaper than $1,000.
Oh, way cheaper, because
Own the house.
Correct.
But her, you said boyfriend?
correct.
Is too hung up on what you paid for.
Correct. What I paid for it 10 years ago, exactly. But those are the things you run into. Another thing you run into is some of them don't even understand the credit reporting systems. They have no clue.
Yeah.
They just listen to some joker at the bank that also don't have a clue.
He has no idea.
Because I have a joker at the bank telling them to cut up their credit card. I mean, cutting it up and now using it doesn't help. Or they're telling them to call up and close it. Correct.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
the worst.
That's the
thing.
worst
Don't
thing you could do.
close it.
Correct.
Yeah, don't
Keep a
close it.
zero.
So exactly. So one time I was explaining to one of them, I said, look, let's say you have 5 and you almost max them all out. You're now at 90%. It'll make more sense to have 5 more that you're not going to use, because then all of a sudden it becomes 40% usage because you now have 5 more.
Right.
Yes.
But a lot of them don't get that. So they go to banks, and most people at the banks don't have a clue either. They just tell you these generic things that we tell
It's like a
everybody.
script, yeah.
Correct. So, and they don't know how to clean up their credit. There's a lot of things that if I were teaching some young person, those are the things I would teach him. And also to understand that nothing happens immediately. You have to invest and you have to take time. It takes time. But like you said, learning as you're taking time, learning every aspect of the business and everything that could help you. I was telling somebody at an eviction, because I still go to do evictions, believe it or not. My manager would be like, I could go. I said, no, I want to go. I'm the one that paid the attorney, because you have to have an attorney when you're a corporation like I am. So we were talking to this gentleman, even though he's been doing it like 7 years, he owns all these properties. I think he has about maybe 10. Some houses, some triplexes. He has no clue about eviction, about leasing and things like that. So if you're not learning as you're going along, you're just going to really be working to support.
It's going to be expensive.
So let's not forget that there's some people in real estate that are not doing well.
Right.
And the reason they're not doing well is because they're in a rut. They've never learned anything. He'll say to me, when we went to the court, I've seen him there before. I said, you're doing another eviction? I have over 300 units, and maybe we do 4 the whole entire year.
Yeah.
Tops. Oh, well, you're just lucky. These people don't pay.
Yeah.
And he just accepted. And when you listen to his case, they owe 3 months worth of rent, 4 months worth of rent. So to your point, it's important to really learn every aspect. Because if you don't, somebody else is going to take you to the cleaners. That's why I self-manage, because I used to own a management company that managed for others. You're just looking for somebody, if you're managing for somebody, you're ripping them off pretty much. Because you're the one making the money, not the person that owns the property.
Right.
So because when I did it, that was one of the reasons I get out of the business. I will feel bad for them, because they're losing so much money. But that's what's in the agreement. You're paying me 10% commission out of the top, not the net. Then you're also paying me for all the other repairs. I have a repair company, I have a contract, I have a landscaping company. So by the end of the day, the owner of the property, so I feel so bad, and then some of them, they'll argue with me, of course, because they're losing money.
Yeah.
So I got out of business because I just cannot, with good conscience, continue to do it.
Sure.
Yeah. I even charge them for time to go to court when we do eviction, even though I'm the one that rent to those people. Then I'll turn it on them. You're the one that don't want to put new carpet. Right. So you're the one that don't want to paint. So it just becomes too stressful. But if those people have learned, like you said, if they've learned all the trick of the trade and really focus on doing it, then they'll probably do well. Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you structure your corporation? So when you're acquiring units, what are you putting them under? Are they under separate LLCs?
I've done LLC, I've done LP. It all depends on the tax benefit that I will gain. In Ohio, I find out that doing limited partnership works for me better because Ohio have all these cities, county, all these taxes layer and layer and layer. So when I do limited partnership in Ohio, it works. It saves me more money. I can avoid some of those taxes because it's a limited partnership. In Pennsylvania, they're strictly all LLC.
You do each property under
an
individual, even single families?
The single families, because I don't own anything on them, I just bunch all 30, right now they're 33.
Under one?
Under one, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, but ideally it's better to do each individual. But I think it's because I don't owe any money on them and they were my giving back properties. When I set them up like 10, 11 years ago, it was to give back because—
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You did that.
Yeah.
You didn't have to do that.
Trying to help,
I didn't have to, but it's not even happening anyway because
They don't
You're
wanna do-
trying,
they
it's
don't
not
wanna
working.
take-
people don't want to do it. Even when we break it down, we were showing this lady last weekend with Accra Metropolitan Housing. Look what you paid me in 10 years. You paid more than 80 anyway.
Yeah.
So she's paying me close to $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
But they still didn't want to do
What
it.
about like rent to own? Do you promote that? Or
We
anything
do
like
that too.
You do
Part
that?
of these 30, but believe it or not, most of the ones that we've done, they fall off the track that we keep their money. So they didn't follow through.
Yeah.
So we've done, I think we did 7 rent to own. They will pay more rent and they will also up their deposit. But believe it or not, we did it 2011, 2012, by 2015, only one of them
Made it through.
made it through. The other 6 fell through. Either one of them, the excuse was she met somebody online and she's moving to Florida. So she lost all that money because that's part of the agreement. She did 3 months deposit and she's paying 20, 30% more in rent with the hope that by the time credit get cleaned up and she's ready to now own in 3 years, then she just forfeit it all and move on. You'll be surprised how many people lose. We were looking at our accounting in April when we're finalizing the Glen Eagles apartments, even though we don't have a lot of deadbeat there. But you'll be surprised how many people have paid us in 1 year, paid us 14 months in rent because they're paying late fees and filing fees, eviction fees. So I set up an account where I could see that line item, and you'd be amazed how much money we just made just from people that don't follow the agreement that they signed on to. Yeah.
And then people wonder. So one of my apartments, the first of the month came rolling around. This was just a couple weeks ago, and in her agreement, it's $25 a day past the third. 3-day grace period, then it's $25 a day.
Wow.
So then she tells me on the first that something happened. Like my car or something. Okay, that's fine. Understand that. This is that, I didn't even mention the lease agreement because I use a software that they're able to log into their portal and they could see it.
Correct.
So then she goes, what are all these late fees on here? I'm like, what do you mean? What are the late fees? You signed the agreement. You don't realize that that's what it is.
Yeah.
So it's like, you think about it, it's like $25 a day. She's 10 days into, so it's another $250.
And she paid it, right?
She didn't pay it. It's on her agreement. So, whether if she ends up moving out or whatever, it's coming out of your deposit.
Correct.
Or assuming that the apartment's in good condition.
Correct.
Otherwise, you might have to pay more.
Correct.
So, but people, they just don't realize.
They don't. People don't realize, or they don't care.
They don't care.
And sometimes when people don't care, then their finances.
They're punished for it.
Correct. They're punished for it.
Some people don't want to be aware, or they don't want to be aware of what's going on or of money, and then they're very confused on why they don't have any. It's kind of frustrating, I'm sure, in your instance.
I'm the bad guy.
Yeah, you're the bad guy.
I know.
So what inspired this whole episode was...
So tell me about it, yeah?
Well, no, this is about you, but it was at our last closing, and we were standing outside. We just closed on Beckford, the duplex.
Oh, okay, yep.
And you said, and you kind of iterated this earlier in the episode, but you said, Americans are so close to the opportunity, and they don't understand it. They don't take it. And that's what... You saw the opportunity and obviously took it and had, I'm assuming, a pretty fulfilling, successful real estate life.
Correct. Yeah, I think the thing is when it's not just Americans though. Whenever you're too close to a problem, you're not gonna see it. It's like the saying that says the mind that creates a problem would not be the same mind that solves it. So if your mind creates a problem, that mind has to change. Otherwise, you're not even gonna be able to assess how you got into the problem to begin with. So I think it's the same thing when opportunity is so close and you're kind of used to that anyway. You just take it for granted. You don't think there's any opportunity there. And I think that's part of the problem. But if we go back to his point, if people are educated, if we bring them along, like if I were to start a real estate business, let's say like a brokerage firm, and I want to get younger people into buying properties, I think that's what we would need to do, is to educate them I think they said 50% of the richest people in this country they made their money from real estate.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to have to kind of bring them along to see. You got to look further, because most young people, you just want to, or even adults, some adults, they just want to invest and make money right on the bat.
Yeah.
There's no quick.
They think it's like gambling.
Correct.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. It has to be where you set a goal. You say, okay, I was breaking it down to this lady again because she's the most recent example. If you do a proper loan, like a 10-year, 15-year loan, because at a certain age, that's what you should be doing. You're in your 40s, you should be doing a 15-year fixed loan, because then the mortgage will be paid off. Right, yeah. Like around 12th, 13th year. If you look at it that way, within 5 years, that $80,000 loan would probably be down to 40, which means you have 40,000 forced savings, because that's what it is in a way when you think about it.
Yeah.
We're just lucky that somebody else is helping us pay it.
Right, exactly.
Because when I get offered, let's say people don't even offer me obscene amount of money for Glen Eagles. If I get offered what it's worth, which is about 6.97 million, I wasn't the one that paid money out of my pocket to come down from what I paid for it down to 4.6. Mm-hmm. Some people keep paying that for me every month.
Yeah.
So when you think about it that way, there's no other business that you could have that's like that.
Right.
And then it's also a business that you can run with very little effort if you know what you're doing.
Right.
Because for me, even with 300 units, I feel like I need more, because I don't know what to do with my time. I mean, 3 afternoon out of the week, I'm flying. I'm always yesterday I was up in the air.
As a pilot. You're flying the plane.
I'm flying. I'm learning to fly so I can buy my own plane. So I'm out there doing that 3 days a week, but it's because I have nothing to do. I mean,
nothing to do with 300 units.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of real estate, because you don't really think about it. You know, how many hours would you say you spend on your property every week?
It depends on what's going on, you know. But I spent a lot. I do. But I'm in the middle of 4 or 5 different renovations with different apartments. I'm flipping them over.
You're doing gut jobs.
So and I have to babysit. I have to fire contractors constantly.
Okay, so that's
babysitting.
Different.
You know. But yeah, to your point, like I think that once
let's talk about the one that are stabilized. How much stabilized?
Sometimes I forget I have them.
Exactly. That's my point. So once you stabilize them, you get bored. There's nothing else going on. So in my life, that's the way my life is now. It's so boring.
I want to be that bored. I want to grow up and be as bored as you.
No, you wouldn't. You want more properties is what you're going to be saying.
I want to be that bored.
No, I want more properties. I don't want to be bored. Because I went to my office yesterday, the manager, even today, the manager's there, the maintenance guy, and I'm like, what am I doing here? So I have to remind myself quick, okay, yeah, you got to talk to them about this, talk to them about that, before you take off and meet Anna. But let's say I'm not coming here. I'm going to start thinking, what should I do now? I have an apartment there, so I stay there 3-4 days out of the week, and I have my house in Girard. So between the three, I have to find something. But once your properties are stabilized, it's a lazy man's business. That's the way I describe it to people. Once the properties are stabilized and you have good tenants in place and you know how to select your tenants, how to get rid of bad people.
You have a team though, right?
Of course.
How many people do you have? 7 employees.
I have 4 maintenance crew and 3 managers. Yeah.
Okay, so you have 3 managers that are the ones that will they be the ones that vet out the tenants and they show the apartments?
Yeah, we have guidelines that they follow. They show.
You probably have actual, like at each of those properties. They're so big. You probably have a manager on site, right? Or no?
No, we maintenance people are the ones that are on site.
The maintenance people are on site.
Correct. The managers come in, they access their own office, and they show units, and they do processing of the tenants, following certain guidelines.
Okay.
So they just follow the guidelines, and when it's out of the guidelines, then it comes to me.
See, that's the key.
That's key.
Yeah, that's why I
He's
do
a
it
good
all
manager,
myself.
yeah.
Yeah, but you're
I
gonna
only
get
have
to a
30
point.
units. You have to add. I deduct the
Exactly.
zero.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I did that for myself until I get to a
Until when?
certain point.
When did you do
I think once you start getting to 50, 60, 70, you'll be forced to. You
Yeah,
won't have
right.
any choice.
Right.
Even if they all stabilize, it wouldn't make sense unless you don't want to grow anymore. Because one person can still handle 50, 60 if you don't want to grow. But if you want to grow, you can't keep doing
can't,
it. You
right.
wouldn't. Yeah, you'll be.
And I work full time still too.
Oh, see? Yeah. Once you get to about 50, 60, 70, and you can see like positive return rate every month, why would you be working? You wouldn't want to work anymore anyway. And then the money will be so solid that if you want to grow, you can't be doing it yourself anymore. You have to kind of like
Yeah, hire some people.
correct.
Yeah.
But it's what you're doing now is going to help you because when you're ready to get to that stage, teaching other people become easy because you've done it. So you
Yeah.
know what to look for, how to select the right properties, how to do, every 3 months inspection of your units and things like that. So you pretty much will have a book that you can use to guide all your people as to what to do. But I can still do that 106 units. I probably could do by myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, because once you have the foundation, it's very easy. But because I really want to grow more, it's important to keep those people.
Yeah.
Plus, I also need a peace of mind. Sometimes you need time for yourself. So if you're just doing for yourself over time, you wouldn't have any time for yourself. So you have to kind of also make time. Life is a balance. You have to have those
Absolutely.
two balances. Yeah.
Well, that was great.
Yeah.
Adebo,
Yeah.
I know how, busy you are. So thanks for letting us kill some of your time today.
Hey, I enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Thank you very
fun.
much.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching
It's nice. It's my
episode
pleasure,
20.
actually. Yeah.
Maybe you'll
episode
come on
20.
episode 40.
Well, that's true.
There you go.
Yeah, but make
You'll
it
have
fast
600
because
units
then
by
I'll
then.
be too
Yeah,
old.
after we
Make
sell
sure
units.
it's fast. Make sure it's within the year.
Yeah.
After I get to. Actually, we could. If you give me the next unit, we need to come discuss.
Yeah, then we'll talk about
All right,
that.
yeah,
And
we'll
I can
do
break
that.
it down. Remember, I was telling you how I don't believe in cap rate.
Right.
So I could tell you
Me
why.
neither.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't believe in cap rate either. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. When I hear
good.
cap rate, when people say that, I just shake my head like, what?
That's the
what's that
title of
gonna do with
episode
anything?
40. No
Yeah,
cap
right.
rate.
No capitalization
Yeah.
rate. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
It was so much fun. Yeah.